Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Paranormal TV. I'm your host, Rob Hernandez, with with Rob and Nikki. Do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, I thought you were taking a lead there, so we're just letting you go with it. I was like, you had it all down. It was great. Yeah, so we have Mark Anthony on today joining us, and it's always great to have Mark on. It's the first time we've actually had a video show with you. It's been all audio only, and it's always been a hit. So I figured we'd throw a little video into it today, and it'll probably be bigger and better. And we got a lot of surprises today. So thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, and I'm honored to be here and be part of such an awesome event. So thank you for having me. I always like working with you guys.
Yeah, are you revved up? I don't know if you hear in the background where we have the motorcycles. So
I know we were joking before we went live. It's like, is it the Hell's Angels? So hey, in the paranormal field, we always have to be very objective, but if you don't have a sense of humor, I mean, come on. I mean, especially when we're at a location and you can sit for hours and nothing happens, then all of a sudden things really, start cranking up. So,
yeah, it's great to keep, an open mind and an open spirit just in general when you're sitting here, because sometimes you're literally just sitting there talking to the walls. And if you don't have a good time talking to the walls, then, you got to supplement it with something else. But as we had stated, we are here in the title. We're in Gettysburg at the Farnsworth House Inn, and you're coming live. Trying to do something a little bit different today. We're doing a standard interview, and then see if we can talk to the spirits here as well. And it's always challenging when you're in the daytime and right in the hub in Gettysburg. So that's why you will get a little bit of motorcycles and. I'm going to assume some screaming, and it might not be paranormal until when we get our ghost box and stuff running, it's probably going to be, we won't hear it, but the occasional screaming stuff will probably just be from like random people screaming, walking down the main street. So,
well, Rob, I'm glad you said that, we're doing this during the daytime, and of course we're getting, daytime sounds in the background. Right. And a lot of people, and I know that you're doing an investigation later tonight, but the fact of the matter is spirits are around all the time, and it doesn't matter if it's light or dark, and I'm not just a medium, I'm also an attorney. And I always tell people, when you're running around a haunted or a paranormal location in the dark, someone's going to fall down the stairs, okay? And so it's kind of nice that we can do this with the lights on, because we can. And I think that's a very important point. I wanted to bring up something, too, about Gettysburg in general. Now, I'm sure that everybody knows that was one of the largest and bloodiest battles in the U.S. Civil War. And what's really fascinating about it is there was two invasions that the South launched against the North. And Robert E. Lee was general of the Confederate forces. And they knew that he was on the move and spearheading an invasion into the North. But Lincoln and his war cabinet, they didn't know where he was going. And General Meade was in charge of the Union Army. And Mary Todd Lincoln, the First Lady, came into the meeting. Now, the reason I bring up Mary Todd Lincoln, she was very involved with psychics and mediums. In fact, she even had a couple seances conducted at the White House in order to communicate with the spirits of Edward Lincoln, who had died before the Lincolns took office, and then Willie Todd Lincoln. And it was Mary Todd Lincoln who looked at the map and pointed to the town of Gettysburg. And she said, "That's where they're going." And everybody looked at her and she says, "Well, look at it. It's on a crossroads. It's an intersection between two other cities." And all of a sudden the general's like, "Oh my God, that's exactly it." Because if Lee had been successful and been able to occupy Gettysburg, essentially he would have split the Union between East and West. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. And that's one of the many fascinating things about the Battle of Gettysburg.
Definitely.
Well, the whole area in general is really just not just a hotbed for history, but a hotbed for what we do in
Oh,
paranormal
yeah.
investigation. And it's, I mean, you can't, like she always says, you go to Sheets, and Sheets at one point was the field hospital, the gas station. Every gas station or every, you know, you're on what was once, you know, hallowed grounds, and now it's, you know, Walmart. You know, so you could actually be walking around. I joke with her, there'll be people walking around like with the full garb and stuff doing reenactment. I'm like, do you think that's a ghost? Because, you know, that's just here the history is just so thick and rich, and you know where we're coming from today at the Farnsworth House Inn, it actually played a very significant role in the Civil War and in history in general. So people come here from all over the country, just not specifically for ghosts or hauntings, but just because of the history. You know, here in I don't know how familiar the audience is, but there was one casualty during the Civil War, or civilian casualty, and the civilian casualty was Jenny Wade, and Jenny Wade actually was shot from the attic of this building.
Yeah.
There was a sharpshooter stationed in the attic here, and he accidentally shot Jenny Wade, just a little bit down the street. So the one civilian casualty during the Civil War actually took place right here where we are. So, you know, there is a significance historically, not just paranormally, which, you know, this place is really, really great for paranormal activity. It's pretty insane.
And with what Mark was saying earlier about, you know, paranormal activity, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's the daytime or at night. Every apparition that I have ever seen has all been during the day. And it's been crazy. I mean, most of the activity that I've ever experienced has been during the day. My house has 4 spirits here, and the activity happens between 10 in the morning to about 3 in the afternoon. And then after that, it's pretty quiet. Yeah, sometimes things will happen in the evening, but it's usually more during the day.
Yeah.
It definitely does not matter. You know, I think for the purposes of doing some live streaming or television work, everyone likes the night vision. Everyone likes the dark because it adds the scary element.
Well, and it also takes away some of that human element where, like, the people screaming in the street, although it still happens at night, it's less common. So some of the outside noise has died down. So it brings that other, you know, convenient element of the nighttime too.
Right, but when it comes to stuff like flying off the walls,
we have it happen day
running
and night.
our you know, our devices and stuff, it doesn't matter if it's 8 a.m., 8 p.m., or you know, whatever. So, you know, I guess we'll get into doing a little bit of experiments during this section here, and now we just wanted to probably catch up with you too. It's been a while since we've talked to you. I can actually remember the last time we had you on is I think it was right around June or July of 2020.
Yeah.
And we had to talk about when it came to obviously COVID, which was like the
number one topic.
We tried to stray away from that topic as much as humanly possible, but it always seemed to creep in. Yeah.
Well, it's changed our world, and there's this big push. Let's get back to normal. And I think that we're not going back in time to the normal we do, but to a new normal. You know, I still am cautioning people. The messages that I've been receiving from the other side, they are still cautioning not to let your guard down too soon. You know, so if you are in a crowded public place, it really isn't going to hurt you to wear a mask. Keep washing your hands. You know, you know, that's as far as I'm going to go. I don't want to, you know, get political because people go insane over all this. Right. But I was talking to somebody. He said, I'm afraid of needles. And the guy that I was talking to, I've known my whole life, and he's been bitten by a rattlesnake and actually struck by lightning. And I said, you know, it can't be worse than that.
Yeah. So, I'd say. Wow.
But I got a lot going on. My new book is coming out this October, and it's entitled The Afterlife Frequency. And that's why I'm thrilled that you guys are having me here, because this is what you're doing. This is what we're doing, is we are scanning frequency, because spirits are pure electromagnetic energy. And we've got 2 types of technology going on here today. the ones made by human beings, which are the instrumentation that you're using, and the biological technology. I'm a medium, but also both of you, all three of you, everybody can detect the presence of spirits. I want to put a question out to all three of you. Generally when you see a spirit, do you see it full front, in your direct vision, or do you tend to see the spirit or spirits in your peripheral vision?
Peripheral.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that it's very rare to see something straight on, and I don't know if it's just, then is it our minds playing tricks on us?
I mean, I've had it happen, but more often it's been to the side.
Do you know why? Do you know why that is?
Why?
It is because of the way our eye is configured. Our direct vision, it's the cones and the rods in our eye. And our peripheral vision is more light sensitive than our direct vision. That's why when you go to look at a comet, it's best if you locate where the comet is and then look at it with your peripheral vision, and you'll see it. And it's the same thing with a spirit. And that's why spirits tend to have that foggy black and white grayish look, because our peripheral vision doesn't detect color the way our direct vision does. And so this is something that I've been researching and incorporating into my lectures, because people say, I caught a glimpse of a spirit out on my peripheral vision, but when I looked at it, it vanished. No, it didn't vanish. See, the Hell's Angels are interrupting.
It revved up again.
Yeah, it didn't vanish. It's just that what's happening is you're taking a more you're taking a direct approach, and then you lose the ability to see the subtle light patterns, which the peripheral vision is more sensitive to. So that's why. So the next time people say that, is it my mind playing tricks on us? No, it's simply a matter of optics. And I'm so glad that both of you answered it the way you did, because this is adding to the research that I've been doing as well.
Yeah.
I've got them full on, just straight on.
Well, that happens too.
That happens too. Happen, but more often
it's the peripheral. Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
Through my peripheral, and then I turned and I was watching it walk, and it was funny because you guys are talking about reenactment soldiers. I was in Vicksburg, and I was getting ready to leave the battlefields, and there was a small cemetery. You kind of had to drive around the cemetery to go out. And I'm driving around, and I saw what looked like a Confederate soldier dressed in full uniform, and out of the peripheral vision of my eyes, so I looked, and then he walked behind a tree and was gone. And then I stopped, and I was just staring at the tree, and I was like, did I really see what I thought I saw?
Right.
And then I said, wait a minute, he didn't have any legs. It was just his upper torso.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, that's cool.
I'm so glad that this whole event is going on, because it's nice to be in a forum, and also for all the people in the chat room, thank you for coming on board as well and being part of this. Is for those of us who understand this, when we discuss this, like I was at a dinner party last night, and I mentioned, I see dead people, and everybody there knew that I did, but I start getting those looks, and it's nice to be around people who don't think that that we're making this up or that we're crazy. I look at it as, yes, we're investigators. We're also explorers. That's, I'm known as a psychic lawyer, but I'm also known as the psychic explorer, because that's what we're doing. We're exploring, and I don't even really want to call it an unknown field. Let's call it a challenging field, a field that we're looking for answers. And the way that we do it is by observing things, compiling our information, and then objectively analyzing it after the fact, as opposed to, oh my God, there is something, it must be a demon. It's everyone's always jumping to this negative conclusion. Before we start assigning labels, let's just determine what we're observing, at least, or describe this, and then let's keep the judgments out of it. Let's be empirical first, and it's very important to leave the knee-jerk emotional reaction out of things, which sometimes is hard.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree with you. And I know when we investigate, we always have to we keep an open mind. Which sometimes I will be completely honest with you, when you hear some of the encounters and the stories, it's hard to keep that open mind. But you do, because if it didn't happen to me, that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
So
Right.
that's, I think, the number one biggest challenge, at least for me, is going after what they try to explain to me what had happened, and it's really hard sometimes to believe it, because let's be honest with you, it's just not believable. And even though I trained myself to be open, there are sometimes that negative creeps into my mind. I'm like, this guy's full of whatever. And what's interesting is we always keep an open mind, and then, as you mentioned, always jumping to, is it, evil, or is it something that is a demon? You have to remember that people are crabby, and their spirits are probably crabby, and so you have to factor that in. And then we always factor so much in that there's a point that I can pretty much talk myself out of pretty much everything that I've, set up. And because we were at a location not that long ago where we investigated the execution cap of the West Virginia State Penitentiary, and it had all of the inmates on the wall who were executed wearing this cap. So first of all, it was hard for me to grasp the thing that people want to come back, the spirits want to come and have some kind of attachment to the cap. But that could be possible. And when we did our experiment through a spirit box like we will run today, we got the full first and last name of one of the people on the wall. But then my mind initially was like, well, is that really the person on the wall, or is that just a spirit who can read? Because it said Thomas Ingram. Like, I enjoy having a prank or two, or pulling a prank or two. If I'm dead, and I see that Thomas Ingram on a wall, I know someone's trying to say, what's your name? I might, even though I'm not Thomas Ingram, I might say Thomas Ingram. So we try to factor all that in a roundabout way. I guess that's how you feel about a demon. If someone is in there and they see someone's timid, or they want to see a demon, a spirit might give them what they want.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times there is, oh gosh, the term slips my mind, but it's almost like a projected expectation. And that's why the scientific method is so very important to this field, because the metaphysical field, the paranormal field, there's a lot of preconceived notions here. There's devils, there's demons, there's ghosts, there's wounded spirits, there's this, there's that, there's da 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 da. I mean, I hear it all. And that's why I always try to advocate, instead of us going into it with, well, this house is a portal to hell. Okay, why don't we just say that?
There it is. It must be.
Must be. Look at that.
The rumbling from hell.
Yeah, instead of jumping to that conclusion, say that there's a lot of electromagnetic activity here, and let's objectively analyze it. Because if we're going to be taken seriously, we always have to apply the scientific method, which is dispassionate, objective observation and analysis.
Agreed.
Well, and I think if you do that with the overall picture, and not just going in specifically to a building because that building has a very specific type of paranormal activity or known haunting, and that's where you sell yourself short.
Oh yeah.
If you go to there's a child named Jeremy, which a lot of people capture. We've captured. We might have even communicated with Jeremy last night on our stream. But if you go in strictly looking to talk to Jeremy and dismiss everything else that's going on, you're really selling yourself short. You're not doing yourself justice at all for being there. Which I saw lights just flicker as I said Jeremy, but there was a power.
Yeah, I had an experience like that when I was in Washington, D.C. I was at Ford's Theater. Okay, so I'm expecting Ford's Theater. I'm expecting to pick up on the spirit of Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
And I was walking around in the lobby, and the thing that really got me about Ford's Theater is it's still a theater. People are still going there and seeing shows. I figured it would have been made into some type of shrine, but the house across the street where Lincoln actually expired is the shrine, and is taken over by the National Park Service. But
hey, that was a semi. That was a new one.
So when I was in the lobby, I got this sensation that I felt like I was falling, and I picked up on like multiple people dying. I said, "There's like a dozen men died," and I go, "That's odd." And one of the ushers walked over and said, "Let me get the manager." And the manager came over and said, "Well, that's interesting." I said, "Why?" He said, "In 1902, it was 1902 or 1904, there was they were doing remodeling work, and a scaffolding broke, and a dozen workers died. They plunged, and I didn't know this. You know, I mean, when you think of Ford's Theater, what do you think of? You know,
Lincoln.
and so Lincoln. You know, so I went in there. Here I am, Mr. Objectivity, and I'm going in there with this preconceived notion. And what was really great is I picked up on something that I had no idea about, and that's exactly what we have to do. And that's, you know, Rob, what you were saying, you know, you're going here. All right, Jeremy, where are you? Materialize for us. How about we go in and say, okay, we're open. Come on through.
Yep,
see what we get.
Which is kind of a perfect segue for us of why we're actually in the room we're in right now.
Yeah.
Is that unfolded completely. So we'll get to that eventually, but that is something that really occurred where we're sitting that completely threw us for a loop.
Big time.
You know, so that's kind of cool where we're actually back here streaming from where we had this occurrence.
Yeah.
And, you know, bringing it to you and seeing in general, maybe if you get anything.
Actually,
kind of a cool experience.
I am. What I'm getting, like with the room that you're in, I feel like I got this, I almost feel like I'm being strangled. I've got this asphyxiation sensation. Okay. And it's like, I feel that all of a sudden my windpipe, my larynx is being blocked off, and it's, and I'm feeling this dysfunction in my lungs and a struggle to breathe. And then I'm getting these tingling sensations going throughout my body, which is indicative of a seizure, a stroke. It's almost like when I connect with spirits that had epilepsy or some type of seizure disorder, that's what comes through. But and it feels very similar, as well as I connected with somebody once who died from cyanide. And this is what this feels like where you're at. I can't breathe all of a sudden. That's the sensation that I'm getting. It's like my throat's swelling up. It's like an anaphylaxis, cyanide types poisoning sensation. My lungs are going into an they're struggling, and I feel like I'm going into some type of stroke seizure. Does any of that make sense with whatever it is that happened in that room?
Now, this is really bizarre. So we are in a room that has now been converted to a bed and breakfast room from when we originally investigated what the purpose was.
Yes.
And I will go ahead and, you know, I don't know how much information I want to give you before maybe we run some of our experiments.
Yeah.
And
all right, yeah, let's hold what I said. Let's do the experiments and come back around.
It could be very relevant. And let's just say that there was some stuff. There's been stuff in here that, I mean, there could have been hundreds of people who have passed
in various
ways. Because of where we're at.
Belongings would have been.
Yeah, a lot of people died in that structure. Somebody got gutted too. I'm getting like this, you know, stabbing sensation too. So, and you know, when I'm looking at the rest of the house on camera, I mean, yeah, it's older and all that, but can you imagine what this looked like in its day? You know,
right.
And that's what I'm wafting into. It's like I'm seeing that, and I'm going into when it was the jewel of the street, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of people died there.
Well, what's interesting is that we are probably maybe about 50. How many feet is between the two buildings? 50.
About 50.
Roughly 50 feet from the actual Farnsworth House Inn bed and breakfast, and that's where the attic, where, you know, the sharpshooter shot Jenny Wade in the haunted cellar. So we're in the house that sits right next door. That's owned by both, you know, by the same
Schultz family.
And you know, it was multi-purpose, and it's been many things, and it was many things since we've investigated here. Yes. So it's kind of an interesting story. And what's cool about this, and it's cool about having you on top of it, is that this isn't a place that people get to investigate. It's not open to the public. So this is like a if you're watching this now, you do not get this as part of like any kind of tour.
Nope.
It's never been investigated.
This room is actually a secret room.
Yeah, this is.
You have to know me to get in it.
Yeah. So this is a room, in Gettysburg, to have like a building of this stature that has not been investigated is very rare.
It's a gem.
Because it's very they really profit. A lot of people profit off the ghost thing here. There's tour companies up.
They pop up every day.
And the best tour company obviously is located here.
Sleepy Hollow Ghost Tour is presented by the historic Farnsworth House. If you're ever in town, come on a tour. I might work here.
Yes, but she's got her live paranormal shirts on.
Here.
So it's multi. It kind of helps get us into this area that hasn't been investigated before. But as you were saying, with being at a place last night where people really weren't, some of them were giving you a funny look. Imagine walking around with like live paranormal T-shirts around.
Yeah.
People are like, look at those people.
Look at them.
Weirdos.
Yeah.
So.
But here you're kind of okay.
It's kind of like we're
accepted here. So.
And it's interesting you mentioned Lincoln too, because even about a couple weeks ago we did a live stream and we did an investigation, and actually where Lincoln slept, when he did the address, was maybe about 20 feet from door to door.
Right.
And he might have even visited where we were. So, we were
I typed the account of the guy who lived in the Farnsworth house, Harvey Sweeney, his account of when Lincoln came to town. I typed out his account of it. So it was like big, profound deal, here, obviously.
Wow. So that was cool.
Yeah.
So what I think we'll try to do now is, since we've already kind of spilled the beans, we're in a great location, and maybe that's the choking thing. She just had.
Well, I mean, on one hand, yes, we're making a joke. On the other hand, she may be very empathic as well, because see, when I start feeling these physical sensations, I had to learn the discipline to tell the spirits, just give me the sensation. Because I remember when I started working with this in earnest, and I was reliving how people died. And I remember one time I had a guy that, had taken his own life with a gunshot to the head. And the headache I had from that was so severe, I had to go home and take, a couple Advil and go to bed. And then I realized, okay, guys, just give me the sensation, because the spirits are working with us too. And Nikki, I'm talking about a choking sensation. You may be picking up on the same, and most likely, because you're right there, you're picking up on the same entity that I'm detecting, and you're manifesting that choking sensation. Did you feel like also your throat was swelling up?
Yeah. I'm still having it, actually.
Yeah, no, that's okay. All right, take a deep breath, relax, and say, thank you for giving me that, and take a step back. Okay, because and they will respect. The spirits will respect you. They're not here to hurt us. Contrary to popular belief, they're not here to scare us or harm us, and they love to communicate with us. From what I found, is spirits are a rather excitable bunch, and they enjoy the ability to communicate. So when you start feeling the physical sensations usually associated with how they died, let them know, okay, I got it. Okay. Right. Because I remember like getting clanged in the head and, and I got lots of stories about that. Some are kind of funny and some not so much. But just for your own protection, because, clearly, Nikki, you're very, very empathic and spiritually sensitive.
I think so.
Well, and I've never seen her do that before.
I've never done that.
It's not like, out of thousands and thousands of investigations, it's never like it's not like a staple thing that she starts choking and falls over or anything.
Yeah, she'd fall over.
Has to go. But
it's another thing, during the day, we're not even drinking yet. No, so.
Right. I haven't had one wine slushy yet.
Well, what we could do, we'll run now. Have you run you've run a spirit box before, I believe.
Oh yeah.
So the cool thing about this is Rob actually brings it live from his studio. He's got it plugged in, so we'll all hear it. And what we found last night, it's interesting to this experiment, is that we have to establish, and it's hard to establish, where that spirit's communicating from. Is it communicating from here in Gettysburg? Is it communicating from where you guys are? That is hard to tell. But when we ask our question, so we might be able to give you a little bit of details now before we start that, just to kind of explain to you where we are, and what our encounters were here, and maybe we can use it during the session. That might be a better idea then we're all on the same page with what we hear.
And if I may, when you said, well, we're not sure where the spirit is it here or communicating from another location? What we have to keep in mind, and this is part of what I discuss in my book, Evidence of Eternity, but I go into this very heavily in my new book, The Afterlife Frequency, and I even give some examples that I've observed. Spirits move at the speed of light because spirits are a form of electromagnetic energy, and everything in the electromagnetic spectrum moves at light speed, which is 186,282 miles per second. So that's why they can zip to you guys, zip to me, zip to Rob, and by the time it takes me to take a sip of my Superman cup of coffee, they could have been to the moon and back, and they pop in to give Rob something. So that is how fast that they move.
And I found when we're doing like communication like this, when we're in like a group setting, we will have multiple spirits trying to communicate with us. And as an example, look what happened last week when we first did the live stream. We were having, things. Even though I'm running the spirit box session here, we were getting spirit answering questions from here, but that happened at the location that you were at.
Right. That was crazy.
So it was crazy. Giving us direct answers. It's in the walls, and then the owner was like, "Wow!" Brings back a mason jar full of bone fragments. We named Martha. It was Martha who was killed in the home. He brought over a picture of Martha. It was just really crazy.
So hopefully today we'll get a chance to communicate with maybe some of the spirits that are here at the Farnsworth House Inn, and just to kind of give you an idea of why we're set up here. So we did a promotion about a year ago, actually 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
and it was for Halloween, and they allowed us to come and investigate this antique mall, or is it antique? What do they call it?
Antique mall.
Antique mall, and it's heavily military. I mean, like 90% military.
Yeah.
With the uniforms and
Civil
War, various wars, various countries. It was a pretty extensive collection.
Very much so.
And coming in here, we were wondering where we're going to get stuff from the main house or stuff from this specific building. And with all the artifacts and stuff, it was really kind of crazy and kind of cloudy on what we were gonna get. Yeah. And this particular section is now a bed and breakfast room, but it was lined with like racks of old uniforms, so military uniforms. So it was really overpowering, and
they were everywhere.
With all of the known experiences that happened at the Farnsworth House Inn, it's how are we going to attack this? We're going to attack this as one giant like compound with both buildings. And do you get the stuff that happens next door? Because with the cellar, and I mentioned the attic and Jeremy, and all of the activity they routinely get, is that going to cross over? But we set up and we started doing our thing, and it was just a short promotion, and it went on a different path than we ever thought imaginable. So we encountered a spirit, which is funny because we brought this up, someone being crabby or maybe evil or not
in the greatest
moods, or maybe it's just a bad person. So we started doing our thing, and to make a long story super short, we got this responses, and it was coming through it like just like the creepiest voice. Like imagine just a stereotypical creepy voice, and she was kind of in
I wasn't in the greatest of moods myself.
a so-so mood. And she said,
I wanted to drink wine slushies instead of
You know,
investigating.
"Who the F are you? You're effing creepy." And then my response to the spirit box was, "Are you creepy?" And as loud as we are talking, if not louder, and as super clear in that same creepy voice, the response was, "I am creepy Stan." And
But it was way creepier
way
than you
creepy.
just said.
Yeah, I
Like,
wasn't
was
gonna.
like,
I didn't want to mimic the creepiness, just
Right.
to kind of.
because you creep everybody
I
out.
couldn't do justice for the creepiness. But he said, "I am creepy Stan."
Yeah.
And then we were both like, "Did he just say
What?
creepy Stan?" It was insane.
Right.
And we'll play the file, on the replay.
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to ask, what do you think about that? Like, so you call yourself creepy Stan? And the response was, "I think it's great."
Yep.
And it was,
Matter of fact.
he enjoyed
owned
being
it.
creepy. I don't know why he called himself creepy Stan.
Well, he sounded creepy, so it made
But
sense. But
in our additional investigations here, we have gotten the same voice,
yes, he has come through.
and coming through to the point where 100% responses of straight creepiness.
Yes,
Like-
and he came through where the furniture that we got for this room. He came through at the location that we got that furniture from.
When we
Interesting.
Weird,
investigated
right?
there. And
He follows us.
I will spare the actual scenario, and because it's creepy. It has to it's creepy. Imagine like a 10 out of 10 for creepy scenarios, and that is what transpired on our additional investigation
Every time.
through ghost box responses. Like completely inappropriate creepiness, and I'm watching you type stuff, but taking it to the next level, coming through the ghost box.
Yeah.
So it would be I'm curious today.
Same voice.
Yeah, the same voice, which is weird. Like there's a lot of times when you going back to our initial conversation when you talk about like trying to rule things out and trying to figure things out. A lot of times, and we've stumbled across this before, if we investigate, say at the same time, we might get an AM radio station that might have the same jockey on, or
same call letters or something.
So we were in Erie, Pennsylvania at one point, and we kept getting, what's your name? And we kept getting WP. And it turned out that was like
we checked the AM radio stations
on the way back. We checked
Right.
the AM radio stations.
It was
and
the call letters.
The call letters for the local weather.
Yeah.
Like when you drive on a turnpike or it says
Yeah.
all
This
this
message
stuff.
will repeat.
And it's
Yeah.
it was that
whole
it was
thing.
that lady on the loop that kept coming through to us.
Yeah.
So which is interesting that this is like different times of day, different, like we ruled out any kind of scenario that it could be something that's repeating itself just due to the fact the words were different. Is it the same person? No. But it's the same
It's not really a radio voice.
same creepy voice.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be cool to bring it to you, to the audience.
Let's see what he's. Yeah.
We can get anything.
Put it out there and let the creepiness begin.
And then maybe at some point you're getting anything about why he was creepy.
Yeah.
Why he enjoys being creepy and actually relishes in I am creepy Stan. Like, it's very specific. He's happy and proud of being creepy, and
He owns it.
that's very rare in general. Just to find someone who's like, yeah, I'm creepy, and
I'm the
enjoy it.
creepiest. I like watching
Well, spirits do have a sense of humor too.
Mhm.
And he could be just having some fun with you, or he could be creepy. Let's see what we
get.
If I were to judge, and I don't usually go.
You're going on the creepy spectrum.
I would go.
Creepy.
If you want the context of some of the other things he has said,
Yeah.
I can fill you in, but that's up to her. It's just like,
It's just real creepy.
Yeah, and I'll give you a general. It's just like coming out of somewhere, and like say we were showering, and we would come out of the shower, and the ghost box would go, "It was such a treat to watch you."
Yeah.
Like, what the?
Yeah, it's like, whoa,
such
dude.
a bizarre. You just watched someone take a shower.
Yeah,
Like
you're
just
creepy, man.
that type of scenario is super creepy. So I don't know. I'm not really. maybe a sense of humor, but we'll see. Or maybe you're getting it's a sense of humor,
He's
and
just creepy.
maybe he's throwing us for a loop. And
He's like,
but
jokes
it's
on y'all.
still an intelligent response, and that's right up our alley.
Yeah.
So if it's okay with you, I think maybe we'll fire up the spirit box to see if we get anything.
Absolutely.
Let's
Go for
do
it.
So right now I have the audio you'll be hearing is all in reverse. It's running at 250 milliseconds. I can speed it up if you guys want. We'll try this and see how this works.
Okay.
But yeah, so let me go ahead and fire it up.
Come on.
Spirits who want to communicate with us today.
Somebody said Rob.
So Mark, we will kind of leave it up to you if you want to, jump in and, kind of
I heard
ask
the word.
questions and speak.
I heard the word execution. Did you guys hear execution?
I heard quote.
Killed there.
You said execution. Can you repeat that?
Said it.
Somebody was. You know what? All
What's
right.
that?
I'm getting cold chills and tingles, and now the pieces are coming together. Hanging. Somebody got hung. And as soon as I heard execution, I got that, and I got that. And then I looked right at Nikki, and it's like, that's what you were picking up. And think about it. If you're hanging, you're going to be going through convulsions like it's an epileptic seizure, and your lungs aren't, because it wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a heart attack sensation.
Right.
And cyanide, I mean, I was getting cyanide and anaphylaxis, all of which have a similar physical sensation. And I heard, I know you played that segment a number of times, but I kept hearing execution.
And I also heard and hung.
Oh, you heard hung too?
I didn't say anything.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
I said hung right there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us who was hung?
Name came through Jake.
I heard Richard.
Yeah.
Take a picture.
Was it Richard or Jake?
Well, did you hear either?
I heard Jake.
Yeah, I thought I heard Jake.
And then I heard WP.
You repeat who was hung?
Somebody said hung again. Then there was
sorry.
women giggling.
It's the male voice that's kind of nasally. That seems to be the one. You guys picking up on that too? It's kind of a nasally, and yeah, that one.
The spirit we're talking to, are you coming? Are you here with us in Gettysburg?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Are you in this room with us?
Are you here with us in the room right now?
Are you behind the curtain?
Are you here because you're associated with the building, or maybe associated with some of the items in the antique mall?
Those two things, though.
So are you associated with this property, the land? So is there an item of yours that's here that you came with?
Somebody just said Nikki.
She's gone. You want to cut it for right now? And then Mark, what did you hear through that?
I keep, I'm hearing that, but then I'm hearing what I'm getting in my mind. I keep hearing spy. And it seems like, and I don't like to jump to conclusions, but I'm hearing that the person that we're picking up on that was hung must have been a spy or spying.
And
which was a definitely that was a hanging offense then.
And I heard injured before hung came through. So obviously, maybe that's why he was captured or how he was captured. Maybe he was.
I heard arrested. I thought I heard arrested at one point. I could have sworn I heard arrested. It's always fun doing this,
It's my pillow, sir.
All right, Nikki, what'd you find out?
Oh, in there it felt weird, but it's warmer. I'm sitting with the air conditioning right by me.
Well, you know what we decided with, as you can hear the background noise, we thought if we had a consistent air conditioning noise going, it might muffle the rest of the stuff from outside.
But I'm frozen.
But it's on her side, so.
Yeah,
for
we
me,
can't air.
Right. But I think what I'd like to also find out is if we can get to the bottom, if we can ask about Creepy Stan, if he's here and what his deal is.
Sure.
Okay.
Sucks. All right. I didn't even ask my question yet. So we were here previously. We talked to just a real creepy individual. Is that creepy individual here? Can you tell us that creepy individual's name? This is him. There's a woman coming through. Yeah.
Are you equally creepy, lady?
No, it's not.
Okay, sorry.
You're talking about the creepy guy.
All right,
It's a woman.
Stan. Why do you say that you're?
Stan.
What? Yeah, Stan. Why do you think you're creepy? What? Explain to us why. Why do you say that you're creepy?
The woman who came through, who was answering if Stan was here, the creepy guy was here. Does he bother you now in the afterlife?
Oh yeah.
We want to talk to you. Can you say hi? Can you say something creepy for us?
Where are you?
Are you talking?
Just said Sarah.
Rob, you know what's interesting is, do you remember last night? So during our feed last night, we had Richard Grieco on, King of 21 Jump Street. And whenever I say Richard Grieco, I have to say, like, there's some kind of inner theme that draws out. I have to say King of 21 Jump Street.
You can't do it without saying it.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Night at the Roxbury from back in the day, but you know,
Yeah.
it's something I have to do. Is we were getting a lot of German, and the word Nazi came through, and there is a lot of Nazi memorabilia
that's in the next room.
That's in the next room, like 10 feet away.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if there are maybe something associated with that. The German artifacts that are here of why we got Nazi and why we got some of the stuff we did even last night.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
here it's one of those places that you get something new
Every time.
You know, there's the reoccurring, but you know, was the creepy Stan, was he just passing through? You know, that you don't know. You know, so there are a lot of responses that are differ from time to time because there aren't like the go-to haunting.
Well,
here.
we do have some of them. We have our staple people.
But here in the this portion,
Oh, yeah,
with the antique mall, with all the antiques and the tragedy probably associated with the war stuff is in.
Well, what we also have to keep in mind, though, with artifacts like that, is that we could be actually it's psychometry. We're picking up on residual energy echoes, and as opposed to a sentient spirit, because a lot of these artifacts, if you hold them, you'll start picking up on the energetic vibration of the people that they were associated with, as opposed to it being a sentient spirit. And so that's what's always difficult, especially when you're in a treasure trove of history where you are now. I mean, you've got Civil War items, you've got Americana, and now we've got Nazi stuff. I mean, that's some pretty heavy duty. And I'm sure there's some Native American, because that land belonged to somebody else before the English colonists and then the Americans took it. So that's really fascinating. But I wasn't getting a whole lot about creepy Stan's presence so much. But I did hear. Did you hear like some English? Like it sounded like almost like a British type accent a couple times, like 3 or 4 times.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
what's a paranormal investigate? It's so funny. It's like, it's like when I see these people that claim to be channelers. Why is it that all spirits have an English accent? I mean, don't people from the Ukraine die? I mean, doesn't anyone from Mongolia come through? It's always, oh, yes, the jolly spirits. And it's like, and I'm sitting there watching this going, huh?
That's so funny.
Well, what I think on top of it, what kind of interesting is if we kind of take our energy and go next door. Not physically go, but just take see if we can capture anything. So I think the spirits come back and forth. Maybe we can run another session and see if we can focus on the main building.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that we investigate all the time. And
I spend a lot of time in it.
There are some significant, you know, hauntings. You see the
I saw something over there too earlier.
So I don't know if you saw the lights flicker when I was talking about significant, you know, stuff happening next door. And you know, I would like to see if maybe we can talk to any of the spirits that reside there. You know, because we found that there are, you know, specific ones that reside at the Farnsworth House.
And they're coming in on motorcycles.
And once again, they're revved up to talk to us.
Yeah.
And you know, but we do get the ones that kind of pass through, like, hey, we haven't talked to you before, but you know, and they're answering clear, intelligently, you know. But there are the ones there's a child there that we talk to all the time. There's a kind of a gruff, nasty guy.
There's a guy who doesn't like ladies, but he's my best friend. He loves me.
And there's I have never been called so many names.
They hate him. It's great.
So it's really the best of both worlds. And there next door is there's a little child that refers to me as Daddy. Like, say thanks, Daddy, or yes, Daddy. Really nice. I enjoy telling that story. Now the story she enjoys is there's also like a guy that doesn't care for me. And I was called asshole 24 times in a 10-minute ghost box session.
It's clearly the most intelligent spirit we've ever interacted with.
You know, not just like, is that saying that word? I would say, like, you're not talking about me, are you?
Yeah,
like, yes, you are. Yes, Rob, you.
This is about you.
And specifically, like pointing the finger. It's just like every time I would try to sway it in a different direction, he would be like, nope, you're an a-hole. You know? So we actually took count, and it was 24 times in like an 11-minute ghost box session. So, you know, he
really confirmed it.
And I don't know why. I never did anything. When I went back and reviewed what we were talking about, she once in a while would be like, hey, how many fingers am I holding up? And I asked a math question. I was like, what's 2 + 2? And the answer was 6. And I was like, well, I guess your schooling was kind of subpar back then. You know, and it kind of
and then from there, it just was like,
it really went downhill. So if anything, that maybe stemmed from me making fun of
their math skills,
their 6 answer. But I didn't think anything drastic enough to, you know, be called that.
He really was offended by it. It really bothered him.
So I don't know if you want to, we can maybe fire it up now and see if we can get anything from, you know.
Why not? Come on, Rob, let's give it a go. Hey, this is what we're doing today.
Right.
Rob and Nikki, do the names Sarah or Joey mean anything to you?
Sarah does.
Because she came through a couple of times.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So here the Sarah Black room.
Sarah Black is actually one of the former owners of the Farnsworth House. So it's only had a handful of owners in its length of time. The first portion of the building was built in 1810, and the add-on was in 1833. Sarah Black owned the house before the current owners, the Schultz family, purchased the property. So that's very significant. So that's pretty cool.
And she mentioned you by name. So that's why I asked.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start it up again.
Yeah.
What spirits are here?
Hey.
Make yourself known right now, please.
Yeah.
My name is Rob. Can you tell me your name? Just a child. Talk to us.
Who's here? Hi. I hear you. Guys are here? Is that Jeremy or Sissy? Are there any soldiers here with us today? North or south? Can you repeat that, north or south? Do you know the name of the current owners?
Somebody said sissy.
We were just talking about the mean guy that doesn't care for me. Tell me what name he called me. What name? Maybe you can tell us your favorite swear word. Favorite curse word. I know you all have
Are you going to do anything in here tonight? Or in the other house?
No.
No.
Who got hung? Who got hung?
Where is this?
Who was hung? Was it you? Did you commit a crime?
What?
What was your crime?
Somebody said Jake again. Was Jake the one that was hung?
No.
Did you hang yourself?
Did you kill yourself?
Somebody said Bruce. Bruce, was it you that was hung?
Can you repeat that? Did you kill yourself?
Where were you hung?
In the house.
In the house.
That was super clear. In the house. That's crazy.
Is that you that was hung?
Why did they hang you here in the house? What'd you do? Why did they do that to you? Did you murder a little girl? Did we hear that right? Repeat that. How old was the little girl? How old was the little girl?
How old was the little girl?
It wasn't. I thought it was not. Was it you that? Mark, are you hearing like a little kid coming through very faintly?
Yeah. And she said she was 3 when you said how old was the little girl?
I heard a guy say 10 and 7. So,
Yeah, I heard 7.
10 minus 7 is 3. Oh my god.
it's a conspiracy.
Whoa.
But
Is the little girl here?
A bit of a paranormal stretch.
Will she come through and talk to us?
Here, hold on.
Can we talk to the little girl?
Is the little girl still here with us?
Can you tell us what your name is, sweetie?
What's the little girl's name?
Where's Nikki and then get out?
What was the little girl's name?
Somebody said Lindsay.
Ruth.
Mark, what did you hear?
I heard Ruth twice.
Ruth.
Yeah,
We've
Rob.
gotten
So
that
let's
name
look.
before.
Ruth.
I get the name
There.
Ruth.
We get that a lot, and we don't know.
Yeah,
Just
I
that.
heard
us
Ruth.
personally.
I heard it twice. Yeah, Rob said, "What's your name?" Ruth, and then it was like there was something else, and Ruth came again.
Well, and I'll tell you what's interesting is that's not a name that they normally get, but it's a name that her and I get.
No, I've gotten it here too, though.
But like when you do the groups, it's not like one that's super. But we've gotten Ruth many times, and the way, which I find is weird, is the way that we've captured the voice of Ruth. Is Ruth will answer by almost speaking in the third person.
Yeah.
Like Ruth says goodbye.
Yeah.
Or Ruth says hello. It's not just like hello. She will use her name.
I am Ruth. It's not Ruth. Yeah. Ruth says hello. It's like
I can say, can you say goodbye? And our audio clip that we have on file says Ruth says goodbye. It's always Ruth said this or Ruth
did this.
It's like
third person.
It's like a third person, which is, and then that's why that name sticks out is because it's always Ruth and then the action after the fact. The typical third person. So I don't know if that's the way like a child would talk, but that's something that we never even established or thought. But it's interesting that you heard the child's name was Ruth because Ruth is a name
something that we get. Yeah.
And the way that it comes through is kind of memorable because you don't get a lot of third person spirit communication.
Yeah, and that's an odd way to refer to. I mean, anytime like in this world when I meet somebody who speaks about themselves in the third person, that's
Yeah, it kind of just gives me that like what?
Right. Like well, somebody's full of themselves.
Right. Exactly. Well then.
Well, and it's not like is this Ruth or anything. It's just the answers to our questions.
Yeah, it's weird.
Ruth says hello. Ruth says, goodbye. It's really
it's weird. It's
weird.
Not normal. Yeah.
And somebody said Mother Effer earlier too when you guys were.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, and it wasn't me for once.
Well, and I believe out of this whole thing and really overall, even going into last night.
Yeah.
When we had asked, where were you hung? It had a clear response within a matter of a second. It said in the house.
In the house.
The house.
And it repeated it.
And it said the gallows.
Gallo. I even wrote down Gallo. Okay.
Yeah.
I heard that not in the last sequence, but in I think the one before that, and that's why I said, "Where were you hung?"
Right.
And then you guys followed up on that as well.
Right.
But that's not to say that a gallows was not erected on the property either.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, or within
in the house. Yeah. But see, I also heard espionage, and I think that you got to realize we're tending to focus on the Civil War, but Gettysburg has been there for well before the Civil War and since then. So there could have been somebody who murdered a little girl. There could have been somebody who was, because I keep feeling spy, and then I heard espionage, and then gallows. So, because here's the thing. Let's say that the Union Army or maybe the Confederates caught a Union spy and hung him or her, in the area. It's hard for us to jump to that conclusion, but a lot of people got hung, and that was how they executed people at that time. So that's
And I think you guys were said, where were you from, the North or the South? And they said the North.
Yeah. And what I found interesting, and what's the beauty of this?
There could very well be something over in the antique mall that would have something to do with that.
Yeah.
The nature of the collection is very broad, and they're people of my own heart. They collect things that are very peculiar, so there very well could be something that has to do with it, or something,
Well, and
my kind of people.
The nice part is when we edit this and go back through, there's also another thing that I'm going to specifically look for is when I said, who did it to you or who hung you, the response that I had heard was government. And I think that would play in the whole spy thing.
Espionage.
When we go back, if it is government, that would be really fantastic because it would kind of paint as much of a picture as, we don't put it out there like tomorrow we're not going to be like,
Headline news.
There is a spy that was killed and make a new thing. But
Gettysburg, this is the historian in me coming out. Britain and France, who were the two most powerful countries in the world at the time, Gettysburg, they were considering siding with the South. So there very well could have been spies, even northern spies, that were reporting to the British who controlled Canada at the time. And once the South lost Gettysburg, that's when Britain and France decided we're not getting involved. That was the turning point. So there could have been not just massive military activity, but a lot of intelligence gathering and espionage going on here too. I mean, that's war. That's war. I don't know. It's an interesting hypothesis, I think.
One of our rooms is actually named after a Confederate spy, Belle Boyd.
Really?
I thought that was the case, and I just had to double check and look it up because I was like, wait a minute, I think I remember that. Yeah. So
what was the person's name?
So she was Isabella Marie Boyd, known as Belle Boyd. She was a Confederate spy in the American Civil War.
I'm going to cut you off right there.
What?
Last night, the one name that we got through was either
Izzy
nonstop, and then saying Isabel. And then today you're following it up with.
Hold on. Now, I picked up the choking sensation, but who really got hammered by it is you, Nikki, another female. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Do you have a picture of her?
I do.
It looks nothing like her, but I just thought it was
well, everybody thinks that when you're reincarnated, you look. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, all the
I don't know. It's on Wikipedia.
But isn't that interesting? Is we're picking up on hanging, on espionage, and one of the rooms there was named for a Confederate spy. And if the Confederacy had won the Battle of Gettysburg, I believe the South may have won the war, because if Britain and France joined it, I don't see how the Union could have pulled it off. First off, the British Navy was at least double the size of ours. The French Army, and the British Army, the Brits already had a sizable force in Canada, and then augmented by the French. So if they would have landed a couple 100,000 troops with the South, that would have been it. So this is a very interesting turn of events here.
Yeah, and British came through also.
Yeah, we're reading the bio.
So and we kept hearing. Okay. So somebody cussed at her mom. This guy cussed at her mom, so she pulled out a pistol and shot him and killed him. Okay, because she's badass like that. She was like, no one talks to my mom that way. So she was.
I mean, that's a little severe.
Hey, I mean, I might
badass or crazy.
Maybe batshit crazy. And
so when we make the movie, Angelina Jolie's got to play her, you know.
Okay, so she was exonerated of murder for that, but then it goes down into talking about how, let's see, she conveyed the secret to the officers and her slave who carried out the hollowed out watch case. Let's see, her first attempt at spying, she was told that she could be sentenced to death and realized that she needed to find a better way to communicate. So she was faced with that she got caught and she's going to die. But it looks like she lived a long life here. Let's see. She was arrested and at least 6 times and somehow evaded incarceration.
Somebody was hung there, but somebody had to have been hung there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say somebody had to, but based on what we're getting, it would be logical to assume that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is.
Yeah.
Well, the one beauty of the internet is we can find out how she died in moments. So there is a death button, so we'll see what.
She died of a heart attack in Wisconsin at the age of 56.
Was she married to Stan?
I don't know. But on her grave it says Belle Boyd, Confederate spy. On her tombstone. That's what it says. Wow. That's crazy. Who knew? Here's American Civil War spies.
Yeah, so it definitely ties into what we were getting.
Exactly.
Here, look, which ran espionage and counter-espionage operations in the North.
Then we did get North.
Yep.
So
and espionage.
I don't know. The inner investigator of wants the I guess, how would you guys feel about, I was going to kind of wrap this up and have Mark give you your plug for your websites and stuff, but what do you feel about maybe going another 2 minutes on the spirit box to see if we can get
Absolutely.
out of what we just uncovered?
Yeah.
I think you almost have to. We'd be doing a major injustice to ourselves and Belle Boyd.
Poor Belle Boyd.
Why not finding out if that's, her trying to communicate?
Yeah.
Well, Mark, do you want to lead this one and kind of ask the questions based on what we found out, and we'll stay quiet and let you kind of go with it?
Hold on, I'm looking something up. I put, like, was anyone hung for espionage in Gettysburg, PA? And hold on, he was captured, taken to Emmitsburg, Maryland. Hold on.
Please say his name is Stan. Please be Stan.
Okay. All right, I'm going to get off that and get into my medium mode. All right, so I'm sorry. All right, who are we trying to get hold of, and what do you think we should inquire?
I think maybe we should run the spirit box, and you could use your gifts, and I think we should, based out of the facts that we just uncovered about the spy, the espionage, Belle Boyd. Yeah. We were getting the name Izzy, which is another, Isabella.
So, Isabella, yeah.
Should we, out of everything we just uncovered, kind of what we're painting the picture, should we just have you lead us in the next couple minutes and see if we get anything based on the scenarios and the facts that we uncovered?
Okay. All right. So we're opening up and we're looking for Izzy, the spirit of Isabel, and any insight she can give us on her cause of passing or any espionage activities at Farnsworth or nearby there in Gettysburg. So.
You
Come on, Izzy. We're asking Izzy to step forward. Girl. Izzy. All right, was somebody executed there for espionage? Yes. See? Okay, come on, Izzy. I can feel you. Come forward.
Hi. There's a woman said hi.
Hi, Izzy. How you doing? Izzy, did you speak French as well as English? Yes, sir.
Female's voice said yes.
Izzy, est-ce que vous êtes? Izzy? Bonjour, Izzy. Où êtes-vous? That's French.
You know what I think is weird, Mark, if I can interject, is he had heard get help and he needs help or let her help. There was something that was coming through on top of it that was, maybe when you opened everything up, there was something that I think help was very relevant into a good 20 seconds. There was get help, let her help. Is what I
heard. And when she spoke French, and when I said something in French, you see, I started hearing, French. Just notice how it switched into the cadence of French. Interesting.
Or maybe if you want to see if we can figure out who needs help and what the premise of the help is. But that was super relevant, and I think the way that it was coming through is, let her help. If I don't know if it was Izzy or something, but it seemed as if when you said, okay, you're opening up, I don't know if you opened up everything like a can of worms, and everyone was just like, okay, Mark said it's time to go, now let's go. But that's what it seemed like to me. It's like there was a lot of full sentences, which you don't get full sentences.
Yeah, we made a breakthrough. Also, we acknowledged that Izzy also spoke French.
Yeah.
Right.
Which educated people of the day would have.
Yes. Exactly.
But it came to me like she speaks French in addition to English. So let's find out. All right, all right, Izzy. We know we can hear you. Who needed help?
Someone need help?
Who needs help? Who needed help? Did you hear the female voice? Who was injured? Who was injured? Who was bleeding?
I'm a little now.
Did you hear like a little kid come through and say hi?
Can
we talk to that child? Mark said it's okay to come through.
There was
a little girl that just came through.
Izzy.
Yep.
Izzy.
Can the little girl say hi again? How old are you?
Girl just said mama. Does the name Jenny mean anything to you guys? Jenny?
I think we're getting ready to say goodbye. Is there anything you want to tell us before we go? Final messages or words or thoughts?
Wisdom.
What do you want to tell us before we go? You want us to come back?
Try to get Mark to come back at 11 o'clock tonight. We're going live again. I mean, you can't argue with it.
They'll just come to you.
Say goodbye.
Say bye.
And
Au
you.
revoir.
Somebody said C.
It said Schultz up there.
It did?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
What?
I heard the name Schultz at the end there
Mhm.
in the last like 15 seconds, and that's the current owners of the building. So that would be
Yeah.
relevant, though. We'll
We'll have
play
to
it
re-review
back
and
and
make
see.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
there was a light flickering again
Mhm.
from our end. Well, anyway, Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You know, you brought
That
your
was,
book
it was
up
a lot of
and
fun. Thank you for having me. I'm
Yeah.
honored.
So the new book comes out in October, right?
It does. The Afterlife
Awesome.
Frequency, and my website is afterlifefrequency.com. So
Awesome.
I invite everybody to sign up for my newsletter. And every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, I co-host the show, The Psychic and the Doc. And it's a great show with my co-host, Dr. Pat Basili, world-renowned psychologist. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And I want to thank Live Paranormal for having me on the show. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for joining us.
it's always a pleasure. We'll
Yes.
have to have you on again. We had to do it sooner than almost a year in between.
Yeah, and let me tell you, this is the first time I've done a paranormal investigation by remote. I look forward to next time.
Good. We're going to bring you on lots
Yeah,
of them.
and don't forget, 11 o'clock tonight, we're going live again. So what we'll do is we will cheat and we'll put your newsletter sign-up link right on our Facebook
Yeah.
page so that people can sign
Oh,
up.
super. Thank
Make
you.
it
All
easy for them. So,
Yep.
all right, cool. Thanks, everyone,
Thank
for joining
you.
us.
right, thank you. Take care.
It was so nice meeting you, Mark.
Yeah, Rob.
Likewise,
Thank you for,
yeah.
Thank you, Rob,
Thank you,
for
Rob.
your
It's
help
always
too.
great.
Of course. All right,
You
everybody
guys
have
are
a
all
good night,
awesome.
and stay tuned for our next investigation at 11 p.m. Pacific or Eastern.
It better not be Pacific.
We're going to be
No.
shooting Eastern over here.
So 11
well-
Eastern tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see everyone tonight.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Bye.